BioLive, by Nature's Way, distributed by H&J Enterprises, and Excel Health TT, the official supplements of the CPL.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Ask the Doctor, live on CNC3 on Thursdays. And if you miss us, don't worry, our core presentations here on Friday at 11 a.m. and Saturday at 11:30 in the morning, right here on CNC3. You can also catch us streaming on Facebook and the CNC3 website, because good health should never be out of reach. And every Friday in the Trinidad Guardian, my Ask the Doctor column goes even deeper, shining a light on the issues that matter most to you and your family. This evening, as usual, we've got a powerful lineup. Our Kiddies Capsule with lessons for the little ones, Medical Minds featuring brilliant specialists, and our open forum where your questions take center stage. Of course, there is our giveaway and trivia section where knowledge meets excitement. We dive into the stories that matter, your stories. We'll unravel medical mysteries, bust health myths, and bring you face-to-face with the experts shaping the future of healthcare. From the heart of our hospitals to the pulse of your homes, this is where knowledge meets compassion and where we make medicine real. So stay tuned. Curiosity on Ask the Doctor just might save your life. Let's start with the Doctor's Capsule. There was a fascinating study last week that found that walking 3,000 to 7,500 steps per day was associated with a slower progression of Alzheimer's dementia among persons who had normal mental states. So they may have had a predisposition to Alzheimer's, but had not started to have a reduced memory. The study involved 296 persons in the Harvard Aging Brain Study and suggested that moderate physical activity was linked to longer periods without cognitive impairment. So you don't necessarily have to get to 10,000 steps, and that was an arbitrary number of steps chosen. And in terms of just trying to keep active, walking, running, jogging, biking, 30 to 60 minutes most days in the week, particularly as you're growing older, yet another reason to do so, a reduced risk for Alzheimer's dementia. Further afield, a century after his death, the Doctor of the Poor has finally been declared a saint a few weeks ago in a historic ceremony at St. Peter's Square. Venezuela's beloved physician, Dr. Jose Gregorio Hernandez, was officially canonized, the nation's first saint. So we've been hearing about Venezuela in the news, but not this part. It was one of Pope Francis's final acts before his passing earlier this year, and his successor, Pope Leo XIV, presided over the moving ceremonial mass. He was born in 1864 in the Andes, and Dr. Hernandez trained in Paris and Berlin. He introduced modern medicine to Venezuela. You remember when that was like the Miami of Central America, when you would go and you would take trips to Caracas, and many Trinbagonians would actually go for healthcare. He introduced a microscope and the nation's first bacteriology lab, but he was most loved for his compassion. Apparently, he treated the poor for free. He bought medicines with his own money during the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. He cared for the sick until his sudden death a few years later after being struck by a car when he went to deliver medicine to a patient. There were 2 confirmed miracles according to the Catholic Church, one healing a young girl shot in the head and another curing a terminally ill woman, which led to his sainthood today. Hospitals and homes across Latin America still display his image, and his life stands as a timeless symbol of faith, healing, and humanity across in Venezuela. Some tragic news out of India that 5 children with thalassemia, which is an inherited type of blood disorder, have tested positive for HIV after a blood transfusion at a government hospital in the eastern part of the country. The state government has suspended 3 officials and offered compensation of 200,000 Indian rupees, which is just over 2,000 US, to each of the families, as well as free treatment for the children affected. A state official has said that tests were performed on donors before the blood transfusion, but that perhaps the donor or donors in this case were possibly in a window period. That's the time between potential exposure and when a test can accurately detect it, and that infection may have been undetected and transmitted, unfortunately, to these recipients. We've been saying that COVID was never over when we're talking about this surge in flu-like illnesses, fever, sore throat, cough. It's been rampant, and avoiding the 3 C's is particularly important: closed, crowded, and close contact settings. There was a recent paper in the British Medical Journal emphasizing that high levels of inequality are making the world more vulnerable to pandemics, and there will be future problems, and the unhealthy cycle between the two must be broken. Global leaders have been warned in this report that political leaders and specialists in public health must call for urgent action on multiple fronts to tackle what they call the social determinants of pandemics that create underlying vulnerability and enable viruses and bacteria to thrive. The report identifies a clear link between high levels of inequity and disease outbreaks that turn pandemics into economically disruptive and make them deadlier in places like Trinidad and Tobago, and perhaps more prolonged. Research showed that countries with higher levels of inequality had a higher COVID-19 mortality. They also have higher rates of HIV infection and are more likely to have an increased mortality due to AIDS. The report noted, in contrast, that countries with more equality had proven to be more resilient during pandemics, including COVID-19. And the experts are saying that a lot of that was due to social factors such as education, income, housing, and environmental conditions. They cited examples such as people without basic education or those living in overcrowded conditions being more likely to contract airborne illnesses such as COVID. And it was noted that high-income countries spent 4 times more than low-income nations to tackle the effects of the recent pandemic. And lower-income countries were not able to spend as much money on rolling out effective public health measures during problems like Ebola and AIDS. We're talking about the African continent, allowing the viruses to spread more easily. But despite lower COVID-19 spending, developing countries also find themselves suffocating in debt. It's been estimated that perhaps more than $3 trillion US in debt, with more than half of low-income countries in debt distress or at high risk of debt repayments that should be frozen perhaps during a pandemic and instead invested within that country in what we call the social determinants of health, things like education, things like housing, things like trying to get basic necessities like food and water to make societies healthier and stronger. The report argues that adopting a global anti-hoarding agreement to promote wide, affordable, accessible production and access to pandemic technology for all countries will improve equity. Remember hoarding of vaccines and medications, which were perhaps found to be effective against the virus? It emphasizes that leaders need to tackle the inequalities that drive pandemics. Even within this country, you're more likely to die if you're in a lower socioeconomic bracket. And it shows that they can do it. Governments can do it to reduce inequalities within and between countries, will enable a better, fairer, and safer life for everyone, not just for COVID, but for every health-related problem. It's time for a short break, and when we return, there'll be more on Ask the Doctor. The Kiddies Capsule is up next.
Fence Trinidad and Tobago, your #1 choice for furniture, electronics, appliances, and parts. With the best prices guaranteed, there's no better place to shop. From exercise equipment to garden supplies, general office furniture, and so much more. Fence has it all under one roof. Call us today at 650-FENS. That's 650-3367. Or visit us at 1 Union Road, Marabella. Fence of Trinidad and Tobago. Quality, value, and variety you can trust.
Struggling with blood sugar swings, high blood pressure, or stiff joints? Take control with Aja Nutrition's powerful wellness trio. Berberine Plus supports healthy blood sugar. Blood pressure support helps keep your pressure in check. And Joint Aid keeps your joints moving so you can stay active every day. Don't wait. Choose Aja Nutrition for trusted, effective solutions. Available at Pennywise and leading pharmacies nationwide. Feel better, move better, live better with Aja Nutrition.
Whoa. Please, what do you think about the PNM in opposition?
Now, opposition is a force. So if the opposition opposes our next opposition, is it really an opposition? Do you think Barry will be able to give water to all? Okay, for that question, tune in to the rundown on CNC3. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Yeah. All right?
We're good.
Are we doing the People's Work?
Yeah, where?
No, the People's Work. It's done on CNC3 on the rundown. Oh, you thought it was here?
Yeah, but
No, it's done on CNC.
In the ever-changing media landscape, we at Guardian Media strive always to put you, our viewers and readers, first.
we strive to uphold the time-honored tenets of responsible journalism.
For us, accuracy is key.
And in our reporting, we strive not only to be first, but fair.
Impartial.
And to uphold journalistic integrity.
Above all, we are accountable to you, and we must respect the views of our audience. That is our solemn contract with you.
Keen attention to detail.
Rigorous verification of facts.
Use of credible sources and sound editorial judgment.
Keep track of our editorial policies and guidelines, including our corrections policy, by logging on to www.guardian.co.tt for more.
Welcome back to CNC3's Ask the Doctor. This is where medicine meets mischief, where science gets sprinkled with a little laughter, and where our youngest viewers remind us that learning can be fun, fascinating, and even a little fantastic. So whether you're watching with your little one or just a kid at heart, get ready for a dose of curiosity, a spoonful of wisdom, and a big splash of joy. Feel free to send your videos of school-aged children to 800 CNC3. Let's have a look at this evening's Kiddies Capsule.
Good evening. When a person has cancer, everyone in their family has to adopt new roles and responsibilities. For example, a child or children may have new chores. Spouses or relatives might have to help more with childcare, monthly errands, shopping, or even just carpool and treatment support. As a result, a lot of the relatives of people with breast cancer or just cancer on the whole can experience significant mental health challenges, including anxiety and depression due to fear and emotional strain. To cope, it is crucial to practice self-care, reach out for support from networks and health groups, and to keep up open conversations with the person with cancer about your fears and feelings and the necessary steps needed to move towards healthy recovery. Managing one's mental health is essential for providing effective care. Remember, you may not be the one with the diagnosis, but your mental health is just as important. Because who can help if you yourself aren't well? I'm Abiel Kudam of St. Hills Hindu College, and this is your Kiddies Capsule.
Good evening. Did you know that National Breast Cancer Awareness Month dates back to October 1985? This is when the first organized movement to bring attention to the dangers of breast cancer occurred in the United States. Since then, campaigns to educate the public about this disease have continued to thrive and multiply. Why wear pink? Pink is more than just a color. It's a symbol of hope, solidarity, and awareness in the fight against breast cancer. It reminds us to look after our health and encourage loved ones to check for early signs. It also honors HGE bravery of those fighting against breast cancer, as well as celebrates the strength of survivors. My name is Alyssa Balkisoon from Saraswati Girls Hindu College, and this is your Kiddies Capsule.
Prevention and symptoms. Here are some key things that you should know about breast cancer. 1. Early detection through screening and mammograms at the early age of 40 is crucial for better outcomes. 2. Symptoms can include lumps and skin changes. 3. Risk factors include age, family history, and lifestyle. While it primarily affects women, it can affect men. Treatments include a combination of surgery, radiation, and medication like chemotherapy and hormone therapy. Research shows that keeping friends and family close is the best way to deal with breast cancer. They provide a crucial support network during your treatment. As you begin telling people about your breast cancer diagnosis, the support will help give you strength you need to fight it. Know that you are never alone. My name is Kavita Sipasad from Saraswati Girls Hindu College, and this is your Kiddies Capsule.
Hello, my name is Vincent and I attend Specialist Learning Center. Do you know what the best drink in the world is? It's not soda, it's not juice, it's not even milk. It's water. All living things require water to survive. Water makes up more than a half of your body weight, and a person cannot survive for more than a few days without it. You may become dehydrated if your water intake is insufficient. You won't be as focused and sharp. You may get headaches, become fatigued, and even become ill. If you notice you have dark yellow, strong-smelling urine, you definitely need to increase your water intake. That is one way to tell. Make sure your urine is pale yellow or clear. So, the next time you're thirsty, grab a bottle of water. Your body will thank you. That was your Kiddies Capsule. Have a great night.
And as usual, a treasure trove of information in this fan-favorite segment, the Kiddies Capsule on Ask the Doctor. It's time for a short break, and when we return, the Medical Minds segment awaits.
We are your one-stop, most convenient, most helpful, most caring community pharmacy. Our pharmaceutical services include dispensing medicines, repeat dispensing, clinical governance, but we also have a fully stocked convenience store featuring our refreshment aisle, grocery lane, personal care products, toys, pet supplies. We are most conveniently located out of the traffic, just 2 minutes off the highway in Heartland Plaza, Endeavour Chaguanas. Contact us on 220-8705 or 470-5938 and visit us soon.
What is BioStrath and what makes BioStrath unique? BioStrath is a general wellness elixir. BioStrath is based on fermented Strath herbal yeast. It is produced over a 2-month period by feeding friendly yeast cells with a mixture of herbs and nutrients. This process, which the yeast cells undergo, allows them to absorb 61 micronutrients, which can then be easily transferred to your body for your general well-being. Because of this process, BioStrath makes all nutrients more bioavailable to your body. This makes BioStrath unique. With BioStrath, the body can absorb far more of the nutrients from your diet and supplements, giving the body superior benefits. Improve your overall health and well-being with BioStrath Premium Elixir for every age and every stage of life.
My own personal motto is to show citizens of this country that our stories can be told in a professional and international standard. I want to show them that the journalism they consume on cable TV can also exist here. Each day, that's my focus, that's my drive, to show the stories of our communities, of our people, matter just as much as anywhere else in the world. That's why we are where you are.
Welcome back to your favorite show with news, views, and interviews of all things medical. Armed with precision and innovation, our guest this evening navigates the body's most delicate pathways through procedures so minimally invasive they often require no stitches at all. My old classmate, Dr. Fidel Rampasad, shows us how interventional radiology isn't just about pictures. It's about power, precision, and saving lives from the inside out, as this evening's theme harks back to the World Breast Cancer Awareness Month of October as he discusses mammography. Let's have a look at this evening's Medical Minds with Dr. Fidel Rampasad.
Hi, good day. My name is Dr. Fidel Rampasad. I'm an interventional radiologist. I'm also a lecturer with the University of West Indies. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about breast cancer, and in particular the mammogram machine, which is a machine used in breast cancer diagnosis and treatment. Breast cancer is one of the most common cancers worldwide, and certainly the most common cancer in females. It is estimated that 1 in 8 females during their lifetime will develop breast cancer. It has touched a lot of lives, and it's very prevalent here and very common in Trinidad and Tobago. So let's get to it. This is a mammogram machine, which is the basic test that's used to diagnose and screen for breast cancer. What screening means is using this mammogram, we can actually pick up cancer before it becomes apparent. And when we do that, when we pick up cancer when it's very, very early, before you can even feel a lump, we can institute treatment so that we can get to the cancer early and can have a better outcome. So what exactly is a mammogram? Well, this is the mammogram unit here, and this is what we call the detector, and a very, very low dose of X-ray is produced at this level. This is called a paddle, and the breast is compressed between the paddle. And when you compress the breast, it allows the X-ray to pass through the breast and gets detected by the detector and forms an image, and then the radiologist examines that image closely. Why do we have to compress? Because a lot of women don't want to do a mammogram because they're fearful of this compression, but it's really gentle compression and it's mild discomfort. But some women do complain of pain during the compression, and what they can do is sort of time their mammogram at the midpoint of the cycle, because the breasts tend to be most tender around the cycle. But if there's, for example, postmenopausal, meaning they don't have the periods and they still get pain during a mammogram, they can always take a Panadol or any other gentle painkiller on the day of the mammogram. Why do we need to compress? Well, we need to compress so the breast remains still, so there's no movement during the mammogram exposure. What the compression also does is flattens the breast. It displaces overlying tissues, so we can see between the tissues clearly and pick up cancers earlier. And what the compression also does is actually forms a thinner layer, so that it actually reduces the amount of X-rays that the patient actually absorbs. Also, when a mammogram, you will notice that the machine is actually built on a sort of a platform behind it, and it actually moves in different positions. So we always try to get 2 views from either breast. And when we do that, we can actually pick up where lesions are hiding, and we can actually characterize it a little bit more. And for example, say it's in the right breast in the upper outer quadrant, and that helps in the treatment planning. So now that we know exactly how a mammogram is done, who should get a mammogram? Well, international guidelines say for screening mammogram, every woman over 40, different countries have different guidelines, but this is what we recommend. Annually, every woman over the age of 40 should get a mammogram until they're healthy. If, for example, there are a lot of other problems, medical problems, and the patient's not too well, then there might be no benefit to screening and picking up cancers early. So we recommend in some patients 75, 80 and on. If they have a lot of other medical problems, they can probably discontinue the screening. There are some women who have a higher risk of breast cancer, for example, if they have mother, daughter, sister with breast cancer, or if they have this, what they call a BRCA mutation. It's a specific genetic mutation that may predispose them to breast cancer. They are start a little bit earlier and probably do other screening tests like MRI, breast ultrasound to help. And what are the benefits of screening? Well, as I alluded to earlier, if we can pick up something early, we can institute treatment and get a better outcome. So, for example, if we pick up a cancer on a mammogram that would otherwise not have been detected till later on, until it becomes alarm, we can actually have less aggressive treatment. For example, the surgery will be relatively minor. They may not need radiation, etc. We can pick it up before it spread. So when we do that, we actually improve the outcome and improve the long-term survival. It is estimated that when we detect a cancer on a screening mammogram, it can add as much as 20 years to someone's life rather than waiting for it to become manifest. So the benefits of screening are numerous. So in summary, we have here the mammogram unit, which is used for screening for breast cancer. We established that screening for breast cancer can pick up cancers earlier before they become apparent, in other words, before they become a lump. And when we do that and when we treat it, we can institute treatment and have a better outcome than if we just wait for a lump to develop. We also advise all women over the age of 40 to get an annual mammogram. So now is your call for action. Please encourage your friends and family and yourselves to book an appointment for a mammogram. It takes 10 to 15 minutes. It's relatively painful, but painless, just a minor discomfort. And try to book your mammogram and help save lives.
Once more, we say a special thank you to Dr. Fidel Rampasad for his love, service, and support to Trinidad and Tobago. Now it's time to put your medical knowledge to the test, and our wonderful audience members are ready to take on the challenge. The giveaway segment with the compliments of Great Health Works is coming up next.
The detergent smells nice while washing, but when you use the new Downy Intense fabric softener, with its new multi-capsule fragrance, it releases an intense scent that lasts twice as long. With the new Downy Intense, you'll enjoy a rich and delightful fragrance that keeps you feeling fresh 24/7.
Struggling with blood sugar swings, high blood pressure, or stiff joints? Take control with Aja Nutrition's powerful wellness trio. Berberine Plus supports healthy blood sugar. Blood pressure support helps keep your pressure in check. And Joint Aid keeps your joints moving so you can stay active every day. Don't wait. Choose Aja Nutrition for trusted, effective solutions. Available at Pennywise and leading pharmacies nationwide. Feel better, move better, live better with Aja Nutrition.
Do you think all dishwashing soaps are the same? With some, they require more effort, and they don't wash as much. Try Dawn and discover its grease cleaning power. Dawn removes stuff grease easier and faster than others. Additionally, its foam lasts 50% more. With Dawn, you use less product to clean more dishes and save with every wash. Dawn, triple grease cleaning power.
Please, what do you think about the PNM in opposition?
Now, our opposition is a force. So if the opposition opposes our next opposition, is it really our opposition? Do you think Barry will be able to give water to all? Okay, for that question, tune in to the rundown on CNC3. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Yeah. All right?
We're good.
Are we doing the people's work?
Yeah, where?
No, the people's work. It's done on CNC3 on the rundown. Oh, you thought it was here?
Yeah, but
no, it's done on CNC.
back to CNC3's Ask the Doctor. It's giveaway time with the compliments of Great Health Works. A special hello to Joseph Sandal and the rest of his brilliant team, especially Yanni and Yuri. So the numbers on the screen, and as a reminder, when you're patched into the studio, listen on your telephone rather than the TV set, because there is a delay that creates confusion. And in keeping with the whole idea of COVID-19, we just thought that we want to improve some of the terms you're aware of in the medical lexicon. Our question this evening: what are the balloon-like air sacs inside your lungs? So tiny air sacs where the oxygen enters your blood and carbon dioxide leaves it. The term would have been used at some point since COVID. I'll give you a hint. It starts with an A. Balloon-like air sacs inside your lungs where there is the exchange of gases. I believe we have a call already. Good evening and welcome to our show.
Hi, good night.
Thank you for joining us, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you as part of our family on Ask the Doctor.
The answer is alveoli.
Alveoli, congratulations. The first call is a winner. So you've opened the baton and hit a 6. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Have you tried these supplements before? Hello?
Hi.
Thank you very much for being part of this segment.
Yes, I tried them before and it went really well, so I want to get some more.
Oh, I'm very pleased to hear. And stay on the line because we want to take some of your personal information off the air. So well done. Alveoli, those tiny air sacs involved with the exchange of gases in the lungs. Now, as we did last week, there is actually another giveaway for a voucher for a free mammogram and ultrasound of the breasts, all part of the month of Pinktober and enhancing breast cancer screening. That will be coming up after this break, so get ready for that. The excitement continues on CNC3's Ask the Doctor as yet another giveaway, this time with the compliments of J.E. Guide Funeral Home and Crematorium Limited, located in San Fernando and Princestown. A special hello to Ria Marie and Tisha, the rest of the crew at J.E. Guide Funeral Home, and they are providing a free mammogram and ultrasound of the breasts for the winner. And also, I would reckon, if it's a man, feel free to call in if you want to give it to your significant other. That'd be very much in order. Until November 29th, it'd be valid. The numbers on the screen. The question is linked in the field of gynecology. Now, tampons, which are menstrual products, may cause a specific type of infection, and the abbreviation is TSS if used improperly. What does it stand for? So it's a complication of tampon use, TSS, especially if used improperly due to a particular type of bacterium that frequently requires admission to hospital for resuscitation and administration of antibiotics IV. I believe we have a call already. Good evening and welcome to Ask the Doctor.
Good night.
Thank you for joining us, ma'am, and for a voucher for a mammogram and ultrasound of the breasts. Can you tell us the complication associated with tampons?
Toxic shock syndrome.
Congratulations, ma'am. Toxic shock syndrome associated with the production of poisons by this particular bacterium and resulting in sepsis. Toxic shock syndrome, a drop in blood pressure, a change in heart rate, increased respiration, and frequently admitted to an intensive care unit if diagnosed appropriately. Well done, and stay on the line because we want to take some of your personal information off the air. And you are a winner this evening. And once more, a special thank you to J.E. Guide Funeral Home and Crematorium Limited. So, it's time for a short break, and when we return, there'll be more of your calls, questions, and hopefully answers on the open forum.
Nature's Ways Alive Kids Gummies are multivitamin gummies meant to support the development of children's bodies like their bones, muscles, joints, brain, heart, and also their immune health. Choose Alive Kids Gummies by Nature's Way because they deserve it.
Victor, why are you still living with bad odors? Instantly refresh your spaces with Febreze. Smell like leftover fried food? Instant freshness. Febreze, your home smelling fresh and clean. Find the limited edition at your favorite store or supermarket.
Step into ABC Doors and Windows, where quality meets variety. Discover premium wooden, steel panel, fiberglass, and steel security doors alongside aluminum, UPVC, and steel windows designed for strength and durability. At ABC, we're always a better choice, delivering products built to last and service you can rely on. Visit our showroom at 1 Chanka Trace, El Socorro South, or call 638-7184 to make your dream home a reality.
Each day I ask myself, how can our country be better than it was yesterday? We all hope for a better society, but not many understand the power of their influence to change the world around them. A small act of kindness holds as much power as a camera, a mic, or even a seat in the parliament when it comes to achieving societal development. I understand that my purpose extends beyond being a mere observer. I am an active participant in shaping the world around me. From the stories I write to the newscast I produce, it is my hope that everyone is heard and understood. We are where you are.
Make sure you have yourself a great investment week by viewing The Bourse Report every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. during CNC3's The Morning Brew. You'll get sound financial advice, whether you're a new or experienced investor, when you view The Bourse Report. CNC3, covering your world.
Back to the open forum of CNC3's Ask the Doctor. The numbers on the screen. We'd love to hear from you with questions of a medical nature, and I know that you're excited to always tune in and listen on the show. You don't want to miss a second of this program, but take a listen on your telephone when you're patched into the studio rather than the TV set. If you want to hear the reply on the TV, that's perfectly in order. So the number's on the screen, and it gives me an opportunity to say a special hello to Mrs. Chandra Ramisa and her husband Michael. Always locked in, firm fans and viewers of the show. They don't only look at it on a Thursday, but I understand some set their clocks for the Friday with a rerun at 11 a.m. and Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Right, so the phone line's already burning up. Good evening, and Princess Town is in the house.
Yes, good night, Doc. What happened is that I had multiple strokes on my head recently, and I am having a lot of dizzy spells. I cannot stand up for too long. I am dizzy, and I get a lot of cramps in the body. Sometimes I feel like getting the attack of the stroke.
Yes,
what can I do?
Thank you very much for taking the time to call in, and I'm sorry to hear that you've been battling some health-related ailments, and some of the symptoms could be linked to the fact that you've had recent strokes. And for the benefit of our viewers, about 4/5 of patients who have strokes would be due to blockages to the arteries in the brain, and 20% may be due to bleeding in the brain. So for ischemic strokes, if there are blockages, the risk factors may include diabetes, hypertension, hypertension, high cholesterol, smoking, increasing body weight, a sedentary lifestyle, a family history of strokes, and there may be an increased risk with different medical disorders. The watchword is prevention. You want to ensure that you don't get recurrent episodes of these events. So sometimes they may be silent, but the symptoms may range from speech abnormalities, twisting to the mouth, a heaviness of the tongue, and weakness to the arms and legs. If the nerves are affected in the arms and legs, this may also cause muscular cramps and spasms. The doctors would have sent you for an ultrasound scan to the arteries in the neck, or some sort of imaging that looks at the blood flow to the brain. Because if there is reduced blood flow, this may be one of the reasons for dizziness. Now, I'm not attempting to make a diagnosis on the basis of the telephone call. Sometimes, too, you would want to be sent for an ultrasound of the heart, the echocardiogram, to see if there are changes within the heart that will increase the risk for having strokes. And many people may have both illnesses, and they're managed along the same lines. So you would be on a blood thinner if you've had a blockage to the brain, or an ischemic stroke is the medical term, and usually aspirin. Sometimes for a shorter period, it may be combined with another type of blood thinner called clopidogrel. Your doctors would also want to have you on a statin that lowers the levels of fat, but they also reduce the chance of having future events. And of course, tight control of blood sugar and blood pressure would be absolutely essential. We frequently would refer patients for physiotherapy. Now, muscular aches and pains can sometimes occur as a side effect of statin therapy used to lower the cholesterol and reduce the chance for strokes. I'm not saying to stop your medication, but have a chat with your doctor if you believe that that may be exacerbating symptoms. So, looking at the blood flow to the brain in terms of examining the arteries in the neck, called the carotid arteries, looking at a scan of the heart, checking your lying and standing blood pressures would be some basic tests from your doctor, and blood investigations. Have a visit to your primary care physician, and if necessary, liaise with a neurologist who is a specialist that handles disorders affecting the brain and spinal cord. And it reminds me, I was speaking with a neurologist this evening who has been a guest on the show, Dr. Sean Mohan, and he was reminding that certain drugs in epilepsy, such as sodium valproate that used to be available, a brand name of sodium valproate that used to be available, has been withdrawn by the distributor. And it's important to also have a chat with not just your GP, but also the neurologist about withdrawing drugs slowly and the reintroduction of these drugs, because this may worsen seizure activity in persons who have a history of epilepsy. So just a reminder for viewers there. And I certainly wish all the best to our call in Princestown. The watchword is prevention. There are numerous reasons for why persons may be dizzy after a stroke, but you'd also want to pay attention to risk factors. The watchword is prevention, as we would want to ensure that future events do not occur. Our next caller hails from Diego Martin. Good evening, and thank you for waiting. Welcome.
Good evening, doctor.
It's a pleasure to have you, ma'am.
I am 82. I have neither diabetes nor high blood pressure.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank God. My daughter is 57, and recently we have both been diagnosed with a fatty liver.
Yes.
Can you help me with what causes it, and if diet will help? Thank you so very much.
You're most welcome. Blessings to you and your entire family. Thank you for being part of the open forum on Ask the Doctor, because that brings to the front burner a very common clinical problem. Persons may be sent for a scan of the tummy for an unrelated reason, perhaps non-specific pain, and the result shows a fatty liver, and the term was non-alcoholic fatty liver disease for non-drinkers. So it has since been changed, at least amongst the medical fraternity. And there are many reasons, including if you have a high level of cholesterol, you may find that these droplets of fat may be deposited onto organs. A fatty liver liver, a fatty pancreas, and of course we dread blockages to the arteries. You sound so much younger than 82, and I know that you must be adhering to a healthy lifestyle when we're talking about one rich in fruits, vegetables, nuts, peas and beans, low fat, low salt, perhaps fish to increase the amount of omega-3, like salmon, mackerel, sardines, and anchovies. That may all play a role towards healthy living. And we mentioned about the role of exercise, and not just reducing Alzheimer's dementia in the monologue, but also reducing many of these chronic illnesses. So you would want to be, as part of screening, you're checking your blood pressure. You mentioned that your blood sugar is normal, but also a lipid profile annually would be on the cards, looking at the so-called good and bad types, HDL and LDL respectively. Sometimes the particles may be examined based on different tests. And an underactive thyroid could be another reason. Persons, and for the sake of our viewers, those who imbibe large volumes of alcohol would want to be particularly careful. And fatty liver in the early stages may be reversible. If you do liver function tests and there are changes to the enzymes, your doctor would also want to monitor these changes, perhaps every 3 months. There are some remedies which are marketed which have a mixture of vitamins and an herbal drug called milk thistle, but the evidence is limited on whether this would be useful. There's actually a drug that is approved in the United States by the Food and Drug Administration for the so-called fatty liver. The abbreviation used to be NASH, now it's MASH when you Google these illnesses, but monitoring your liver enzymes or liver function tests, along with a lipid profile, a thyroid function annually is on the cards for both your daughter and you, and of course diet, exercise, weight loss, paying attention to alcohol would be on the cards. If there is a progression, there is actually a mathematical equation that doctors employ to determine whether there is scarring or what we call fibrosis to the liver. There's even a special type of scan called an elastoscan that the gastroenterologist would use to determine if there is liver damage. Because with the burgeoning pandemic of obesity, we have seen that fatty liver disease is becoming a leading cause of end-stage damage or cirrhosis. So this is non-drinkers, persons who do not engage in large volumes of alcohol are still getting damage. Be vigilant, because fatty liver disease is also viewed as a pre-diabetic state. Perhaps I heard one of my profs in England say it's analogous to the liver letting out a slow, silent scream before the blood sugar rises. So there is no need for alarm based on monitoring. It could be potentially reversible, but you'd also want to pay attention based on blood investigations. A basic mathematical equation, the abbreviation is FIB4, the FIB4 index, and if needed, a referral to a gastroenterologist if there is or if there are markers of permanent liver damage. Our next caller hails from Piaku. Good evening and welcome to Ask the Doctor.
Yes, hi doctor, how are you going? Good night.
Hello, good evening ma'am. It's a pleasure to hear your voice.
Right, so hi, my question is tonight, what's your take on medicinal marijuana and its effect on cancer patients?
Thank you very much. What a fascinating question, because we have seen that it has become a legalized drug in places like the US. It was legal for decades, perhaps in the Netherlands, but places like the US, and we are hoping that in the West Indies that there may be a niche for drugs like these, especially end-stage cancer patients who have stage 4 of the illness and are racked in pain or some symptoms may find there is an ease. There is an indication, the prescriptions must be strict. It is not yet approved in this country at the level of the medical board and the Ministry of Health for use medicinally. So I know that there have been some changes to the laws based on the amount that is available. Some persons have been using CBD oil for some problems, including seizures, brain disorders, and indeed stage 4 cancer. So there is part of the therapeutic armamentarium in the management of this dreaded illness could include the use of medicinal marijuana, particularly if there is relief of symptoms, and allowing patients to die with dignity and without the pain that is often associated with this dreaded illness. It's an excellent question, and I hope that we can move into the new millennium eventually when we're talking about prescribing and altering the drugs to keep patients comfortable. And thank you for that excellent question. We head to the Southland as Princestown is in the house. Good evening.
Good evening, Doctor.
Thank you for being part of our open forum, sir. I recognize that deep booming voice.
Yes, Doctor.
And blessings to you and your family. Go right ahead.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Same to you and your family. Blessings to you. Doctor, there seems to be a problem that I want to bring to the fore with respect to dialysis at the San Fernando General Hospital.
Yes, sir.
The doctors are saying that they don't have the tube to put the portal in the neck of patients who has to do dialysis, and as a result, the patients are delayed for more than 6 months. And this is causing a degeneration, a worsening of the patient. Could you suggest what help can we get for a patient who is suffering, who needs dialysis, and what could be done? Up to today, they said that they don't have the size of the tube to put the portal in the neck. So I would listen to you off the air, and may God bless you and your family.
Thank you very much for your very insightful call and reciprocations to the entire clan in Princestown, because once more it highlights some of the glaring inefficiencies within the sector. And I know that the board has changed at Southwest Regional Health Authority. There are some amendments which hopefully will improve the system. There are renal clinics available at hospital, and at the wards, many patients unfortunately have been crash landing and having to start dialysis. I would say to have a chat with not just the consultant who is in charge of the care of the patient on the ward or at the renal clinic to see whether a referral to the medical social worker will be able to assist that patient to source that privately. Now, one of the things that we've been told at the Regional Health Authority is that persons should not be sent directly to a private institution to purchase, whether it's a tool, whether it's a drug that is not available within the public sector. But where does that leave the patient? Where does that leave the relatives? Because something like dialysis is life-saving. So, through the medical social worker, there is a program that will allow the distribution of funds to access some of these tools or instruments which are not available. Now, it must be done in consultation with not just the social worker, but also very senior persons at the hospital, including the consultant in charge of the care. The nephrologist is a specialist that handles problems affecting the kidneys. If you find that this is also time-consuming or difficult to access, you would want to liaise with customer services department. This advice extends to all the RHAs in this country. Customer services and quality control would have an excellent crew that should be able to advise and liaise with the doctors and the healthcare professionals involved with the care of the patient. The patient must come first. So there are a few options available. Blessings once more, and all the best to you and the family. It's a difficult, treacherous road when it comes to the management of patients who require dialysis. It's life-saving because remember, the kidneys are the major excretory organs in the body involved in regulating salt and water, and indeed already persons are struggling. A special hello to Miss Merlene and, of course, Carlos in Central Trinidad. They live in Couva. They're always locked in. This young lady spent many years in Sweden, and she returned to her homeland in Trinidad and Tobago, and she has been a leader on the local front. God's blessings to you. The phone lines are burning up. Good evening and welcome to Ask the Doctor. Hello?
What you said, sir? I'm sorry.
Thank you for joining us, ma'am. You're on the air. It's the open forum. Good evening. Hello?
Can you say again? I didn't hear you.
Hello. Welcome to Ask the Doctor. We're hearing you loud and clear. We're hearing you loud and clear. Good evening.
Good evening. I would like to ask a question.
Certainly, ma'am. Go ahead. Dr. Tilak Singh here. I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Hi, Dr. Tilak Singh. Good evening, and thank you for taking my call.
It is an honor.
I would like to know what exactly is high cholesterol and statin.
Thank you very much, because very common clinical questions. Now, cholesterol is a soft, waxy substance that forms a vital part of our bodies. It is required for cell membranes, hormones, and vitamin D, and it is produced by the liver. However, sometimes the liver can overproduce or does not get rid of the excess cholesterol. When it becomes elevated, this may represent a risk factor for blockages. When we talk about plaque formation in the arteries and subsequently inflammation and perhaps a heart attack or stroke, that could be one of the risk factors. So that's why we often pay attention to not just a total level, but we're looking at HDL, the high density lipoprotein, which is the so-called good type. That's the hero in the story, and it tends to protect your heart. But the low density lipoprotein, those small particles, would tend to increase your chance of having a cardiovascular event. So that's the so-called bad type. Persons who have had a heart attack or stroke, like our first caller, would have been prescribed a drug with the suffix statin. Simvastatin was available on CDAP. It has recently been replaced by a potent rosuvastatin, 20 mgs. Now, they may be adverse effects, but these are uncommon. So have a chat with your doctor before thinking about stopping these drugs. If you're a person with diabetes, age 40 to 75, you may want to consider being on a statin. If the LDL, or low density lipoprotein, when you look at your profile, exceeds 190, that would also put you within a high-risk category. And interestingly, there are also mathematical equations that your doctor may employ to determine whether statins are right for you. Now, some persons may be afraid of the adverse effects, and this is also their pros and cons. Sometimes we consider switching statins or even using a low dose and titrate accordingly. So monitoring of drugs, particularly your liver enzymes, would be useful if you're taking statins. Checking for an underactive thyroid is something I advocate for on this show. If you have a high level of cholesterol because there are underlying reasons, such as uncontrolled diabetes, increased intake of alcohol, increasing body weight, problems with the kidneys, but there's an entity called nephrotic syndrome in which the protein spills into the urine, and even liver disease. So there are certain nuances when we're talking about your lipid profile or high cholesterol, and one size doesn't fit all when it comes to statin use. Excellent question to close. Parting is always such sweet sorrow, and I think our quote will be enjoyed by all. Barbara Johnson reminds us that faith is seeing light with your heart when all your eyes see is darkness. This speaks to the profound resilience of the human spirit when life feels overwhelming, when the evidence before us is bleak, and logic says to give up. Faith steps in as a deeper kind of vision. I think all religious texts remind us about faith. It is the inner light that guides us when external circumstances offer no clarity. And in medicine, as in life, faith can mean trusting the process of healing, even when the outcome seems uncertain, believing in recovery when the prognosis is poor, or holding on to hope when everything appears to fall apart. And isn't it true that medicine at its core is an act of faith, a belief that compassion can change the course of a life? Thank you for trusting me to walk beside you each week in your homes and in your hearts. To my team behind the lens, to the delightful Neela and baby Daniel, and to you, our viewers, stay strong, stay curious, and I always say, never stop choosing kindness. Until next time, may God bless you and keep you in His care. We'll see you on Ask the Doctor.
Ask the Doctor is brought to you in part by Alive, by Nature's Way, distributed by H&J Enterprises, and XL Health TT, the official supplements of the CPL.
What